All right, our next question, Ben. You mentioned, of course, WDMX. Let's talk a little bit about what you would, some tips for finding or having successful wireless light control. If somebody wanted to do that and they were really, really excited about being able to control and not having to run DMX wires, what are some things they should be thinking about to have success in that?
I think the first thing I would point out is that wireless DMX is not a standard. DMX is a standard, wireless DMX is not. So you have a lot of different protocols out there on the marketplace. You have some of the kind of generic, ones that you find in a lot of, the Chinese fixtures, for example. And then you've got proprietary ones like ADJ Wi-Fi and Chevet DeFi, which are not compatible with each other and are not compatible with these other kind of generic, whatevers. And then you have some, and then we'll call those kind of the prosumer standards. We'll call those kind of the DJ level standards. And then you have professional standards, which are kind of de facto standards because they're so widely used, but they're not. They're still proprietary. So just because they're widely adopted doesn't make them an actual standard. And that would be, for example, like WDMX or CRMX. And I'll pop up a thing here on that because I think this might be another good example of, we just got done looking at professional uplight versus, DJ level uplight. And, whoops, I think I just nuked it.
We had a transmitter of some sort. There we go.
There we go.
WDMX.
So, here we can see, this is not the kind of wireless DMX transmitter most DJs are used to looking at. Mm-hmm. And again, using our example, if those of you who saw the other video, or those of you who are seeing this as part of one video, we talked about a Ford versus a Rolls-Royce. This would be the Rolls-Royce of wireless DMX. Certainly comes with a higher price tag, but of course performance follows. Now, that doesn't mean that WDMX has to be prohibitively expensive. They also have their micro series. And I know a lot of DJs using WDMX. But again, I want to be clear. WDMX is a proprietary standard, and WDMX is not wireless DMX. It's interesting, if you type in WDMX into like Google, you'll find results for some of the generic ones. They're fooling you. They're keyword spamming, and it's not the same. Right. And it won't work with the WDMX.
Goodness.
What's really interesting about this, though, is if we look down here, we can see CRMX support as an option. And kind of one of the things that happened is that the folks that put out CRMX, which is another proprietary wireless DMX transmission method, have now bought wireless solutions and control both standards.
Okay.
And I believe there's a generation of products coming that essentially have both on board and speak both languages. But as you can see, these have that ability to have that anyway. Mm-hmm. Now, so what makes this better than the other ones? Well, one of the things that makes this a lot better than the other ones we talked about, like the Chevet DeFi and the ADJ Wi-Fi or the generic, whatever wireless DMX, is this is an advanced frequency hopping spread spectrum, which means it, which by the way, sidebar, I just noticed there's a special on Netflix about Hedy Lamar or Hedy Lamar. Now they get the Blazing Saddles thing stuck in my head. Anyway, she pioneered frequency hopping back in World War II as a way to prevent jamming on torpedoes, and I need to watch that special. It's something that definitely pings my inner nerd. But anyway, so what it does is it moves the information all around the spectrum so that any interruptions or any interference doesn't block the entire signal. It maybe knocks out a few little bits of it, and the signal is able to very easily and agilely get around that interference. So it becomes substantially more reliable. You have ranges of sometimes several thousand feet with these. This is how the other half lives. When you want really rock solid wireless DMX, you're going to use something like CRMX or WDMX.
Interesting.
You'll notice here, like it says, this is their 6th generation. They've been doing this for a while. Mm-hmm. And the people that are paying the kind of money that these things cost expect those results. And, price comes with performance. Sticking with my now somewhat tired example of Ford versus Rolls-Royce, if a Rolls-Royce didn't do anything different than a Ford, people would not pay the money for it. if it was the same experience as driving a Ford, people would not spend the money for Rolls-Royce.
Yeah, there is that. There's that. You get a different experience. Interesting. We might have to dig into that WDMX in a longer format a different night.
I think I have a spectral screenshot here. If we have enough time for me to find it.
Yeah, we should be.
Because I've done this as part of some of the classes I've taught and some of the trainings that I've done. It's just a question of how fast I could possibly find it. This is the problem, kids, when you've made a few hundred PowerPoints in your life.
And you're looking for a keyword.
Yeah, and you're looking for one PowerPoint from a presentation you did. All right, I am reasonably certain it might be in here. Oh, wow. Oh, that was interesting. That was a spreadsheet I made a while back, but we'll skip that. I'm like, hey, that's a pretty good spreadsheet. It was comparing the transmission power in milliwatts of the various wireless DMX standards, but that's for another day, I think. So, all right, I believe this PowerPoint is trying to load. And yes, okay, good. So y'all getting some super awesome bonus content here that normally people pay a lot of money for, so... Let's go here. Okay, so we see you see the screen where it says Chauvet DeFi, and we can see this spectral spike. That is where our signal lives. You'll notice this is the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum, same as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and others. So we'll notice that here we have these frequencies, and you can see there, in megahertz, there's this one's looks like somewhere around 2478.
Yep.
Call it good enough. And here we can see this is when you change channels on your Chauvet DeFi, you are literally changing frequency just like you would with your wireless mic. And in an oversimplified sense, we're simply changing frequencies. So if we have interference over here, we would just move somewhere over here, for example.
Yeah.
And here you can see the ADJ Wi-Fi. It's a bit wider signal you can see, but again, it's fairly local. And the rest of the spectrum is fairly clean. These things here are not part of that signal. They're just something anomalous in the testing. This was not done in a purely anechoic radio environment. So.
Sure.
And here you can see WDMX, and you can see the difference. I mean, it's everywhere all at once. So whereas the Wi-Fi is kind of in one spot and the DeFi is in one spot, WDMX is everywhere. It's spreading that information all around. So, we can see in here it's now paired and actively sending a signal, and it's working pretty hard. So
interesting. Yeah,
I think that's a really good way to look at it. So again, anything that interferes with anything is going to, it's going to be difficult for it to interfere with the signal meaningfully enough. And by the way, I have to show this too. This is actually in my presentation. So I mentioned Hedy Lamarr a second ago. I actually had this in my presentation. So that's why I'm so excited about the Netflix special. So
funny.
Anyway, I know. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, let's hit one last question before we wrap up for tonight, because up next you guys will be jumping out to DJNTV.com/chill for the Tuesday Night Music Show. But first,